Hey everybody, welcome to today's Hangout. So we have some excellent content to share with you today to help you make the most out of this Christmas season. So I'm Marina Agapakis, I'm a product marketing manager, and I'm here with Kate Conroy, who's a product ad specialist for the APAC region. Before we dive into the content though, I just wanted to walk through a couple of housekeeping items. So you can watch the video on the event page right here. If you're having any trouble viewing the video or you want to see it a little bit bigger, you can navigate to the YouTube page. The reason we ask you to stay here on this event page, though, is that you'll see below me the opportunity to post your comments and questions in the Say Something box. So feel free to go ahead and post your questions throughout the presentation there. We'll be taking 2 breaks during the session so we can actually field your questions. And finally, you'll also see a survey link posted at the top of the description for the event. So please do, at the end of the session, fill that out. Just a couple quick questions so we can make sure that the sessions are as useful as possible. So with that, I'll pass it off to Kate to share with you her wisdom on product ads.
All right, thanks Marina. It's great to join all of you today on our Hangout. We're going to be talking about maximizing Christmas profit with product ads. October is actually the point where we start to see traffic start to head up as people start to do their Christmas research. And we've got some great new products that we didn't have last Christmas for online retailers that we have this Christmas. So we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of them and knew how to make the most of them. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. We're going to briefly talk about Christmas trends for 2012. We'll take a look at what happened last Christmas and how you can use those trends to plan for this Christmas. Then we're going to run through the basics of what is Merchant Center and what are product ads so you can understand these 2 important concepts. Then we'll dive a bit more deeply into the Merchant Center feed basics. So we're going to show you how to produce a feed and how to upload it. And then we'll take a look at 2 different kinds of product ads, so product extensions and product listing ads. Okay, let's start with our Christmas trends to look forward to. So 72% of Australians planned using online for their Christmas shopping last year, and around 20% used it for most or all of their purchases. I was definitely one of those people. I did all of my Christmas shopping online last year, and I think I'll do it again this year. It was a great experience. The average Australian shopper spent $940 online for Christmas gifts in 2011, so it's quite a substantial sum. And of those people who are doing shopping and using the online forum, 46% of shoppers research gifts and stores through their mobile device. So 13.3 million Australians were averaging about 28 sessions using Google search during December. So that basically meant that the bulk of the Australian online population was using Google search during December for a number of Christmas-related searches. If we look at the different categories in terms of growth from Christmas 2010 to Christmas 2011, we can see that the kind of standout categories were around food and drink and also the mass merchandises. But we saw some pretty substantial growth in all categories, definitely well above where retail as an average is right now in Australia. So home appliances also did pretty well, and apparel did particularly well. One of the things that's important to understand when you're planning for Christmas is that Christmas searches shift over the season. So here we have some trends for particular searches, and I've pulled these using Google Trends, which you can use yourself. So the green line shows the trend in searches for baby toys, the red line for searches for gifts for men, the yellow for Christmas hampers, and the blue for gifts for women. So what you can see is some kind of interesting trends here. Firstly, around October, right around this time when we're doing this Hangout, is when searches start to pick up across most categories as people start to plan for Christmas. So if you're the kind of person who leaves it really late, not everybody leaves it late. Some people like to get started early and really get their Christmas planning done. You can see, for example, baby toys has an earlier peak than the other categories there. So maybe it's just because people love buying for kids, but they really get that started early, and it kind of finishes up a bit earlier than the other ones. Gifts for men and Christmas hampers, you can see peak around about the same time, so that's kind of around about 10 days into December. But Christmas hampers has a I guess, a shorter takeoff, so it's more compressed than gifts for men. And then gifts for women, I don't know how this really reflects on the guys. I once talked to somebody who ran a suit hire company who said that boys will be boys and girls will be organized, and I think this kind of reflects here on this chart. But we can see that the gifts for women tends to be a little bit later along in the process. So why I recommend that you take a look at trends is if you have particular products that you sell, you can use a chart like this to actually plan how you want to spend your budget in the lead up to Christmas. So essentially you want to plan your spending to follow the curve of this chart. So you don't want to have say exactly the same budget every week, because as the searches pick up, you'll actually start to run out of budget during the day. So go to Google Trends, run some queries for products that you sell, and then essentially use that curve to plan how you're going to segment your budget in the lead up to Christmas. Okay, so now we've talked about the Christmas trends. Let's move on to our two key concepts today. The first is Merchant Center, and the second is product ads, which, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about two different kinds of product ads. So let's start where all of our Google users start, which is a Google search page. In this case, you can see that a shopping-related search has been done for a bagless vacuum cleaner, and Google can actually tell that this is a shopping-related search. We run an algorithm on the back end that identifies this as somebody is shopping for something that they want to buy. Firstly, in the results, you'll see organic shopping results. So these are free results, unpaid results, that are coming via a feed into the Google Merchant Center. And you can see them show up in two places. The first one, as you can see down the bottom where it says shopping results for bagless vacuum cleaner, we're actually pulling in kind of a sample of those results into the standard search listings. On the left-hand side, there's also a link that says shopping, and if you clicked on that, you'd be taken through to a separate Google property that just houses shopping-related items, again, that have been pulled through a Merchant Center feed. So that covers the organic traffic on the page. There are also these things called product extensions for ads. If you're familiar with site links for AdWords ads, product extensions look very similar, but they come with prices. So they kind of look a bit like site links with prices. Wherever you see that, know that it is a product extension. And basically what's happened is that this particular advertiser, in this case it's Appliances Online, has attached their Merchant Center to their standard AdWords text ads and said pull in any relevant products related to the keyword bagless vacuum. So find those products automatically in my Merchant Center feed and display that information under my ad. And then finally on the right-hand side, we can see product listing ads. So these are the ones with the little pictures that you see there. These ads are not actually triggered by any manually added keywords in these advertisers' accounts. We actually automatically create the ads for them based on the content of their Merchant Center feed. So they provide pictures and the title of the item and the price, as you can see there. And then we go ahead and create those ads. So those are all the kind of parts of a page that are related to what we're talking about today. One thing I will emphasize is you can actually see that Appliances Online have a standard text ad with product extensions running, and they're also showing at the top of the product listing ads on the right-hand side, and it's potentially possible that they could show in the shopping results as well. So there are kind of multiple spots on the page where one store could show in this context. So let's talk about Merchant Center and what Merchant Center is really for. So Merchant Center is a place that you can go on Google where you upload a feed of all of your products. We then use that feed for multiple different things. So once your Merchant Center feed is up, you can make the most of it by using it in multiple places. So on the paid side, we can use that feed to create the product listing ads that you just saw and also the product extensions. And on the other side, you can use that feed to create the organic shopping results and also for something called Google Commerce Search. We're not going to go too deeply into Google Commerce Search today, but just so that you know that it's there. It's a product that lets you essentially run product search on your website and display those products. There's a separate fee associated with using it. So the next question, of course, is how do I create a Merchant Center account? It's pretty easy, actually. You just go to google.com/merchants and then set up an account. If you already have, a Google login, then you can use that same login to go ahead and create a Merchant Center account. If you are someone who manages accounts for other people, for example, an ad agency, know that you should have one Merchant Center account per advertiser. So for every different business, you would need a different Merchant Center account. So what does a Merchant Center feed look like? Well, we'll learn in a moment that Merchant Center feeds come in lots of different formats. However, what I'm showing you here is actually the most simple format that you can upload into the Merchant Center, and it's essentially an Excel spreadsheet, nothing more complicated than that. You can see in this case that we have things called attributes. So that's essentially what you see across the top row of the spreadsheet there. And then underneath we have information about those attributes for each product. So for example, on the left you can see ID, which is essentially means like a unique code that applies to the product. Many retailers actually use the SKU, the SKU number, as their ID because it's always unique to the product. We've identified the condition of the product as new, the title, which is actually the bit that will show in the product listing ad or the product extension, the description, price, the link to the page where that product is available, brand, and the image link as well. It's important that you understand attributes and how they work. We're going to go a bit more deeply into this, but they affect how your product ads show and also how you bid for your product ads. When it comes to uploading data to the Merchant Center feed, there's three main ways that you can do it. What a lot of people do is actually start out with the easiest way, and then once they're kind of comfortable and they've worked out that this is going to be sort of a successful option for them, they start to look at either doing it the medium or advanced way. So the easy way involves manually uploading a spreadsheet in Merchant Center. So it's pretty much you create an Excel spreadsheet with all your products, you save it as a text file, and then you just go into Merchant Center and hit a button to manually upload that. The next option is actually to create an XML file or a text file and put it in a particular place and use what we call a scheduled fetch. So Google will actually come along, say about every 24 hours, and pull that file from the place where you've told us to check regularly. So if you want to go for kind of a more automated system, that's very popular, we find, with a lot of merchants. So they just set up their own internal system to generate this file once a day, put it in a particular place. We'll come along and take it from that place regularly. And then finally, if you really want to go for the advanced option, we have a Google Content API for shopping. So application programming interface that allows you to essentially talk directly to the Merchant Center backend via the API. I would strongly recommend the API if you are someone with a very, very large set of products, or alternatively, if you're someone who changes your prices multiple times per day. So we have some merchants out there who are very sensitive to competitive pricing and actually update their prices very frequently. For those guys, the Content API is the way to go. But generally, if you're new to it, kind of start on the left-hand side with the easy option, try it out and see how you go. And then if you're happy, you can move on to one of the more advanced options for uploading to Merchant Center. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is actually give you a little bit of a demo of Merchant Center and what a feed looks like. So let me just flip over here. So what you should be able to see now is a simple Excel spreadsheet. This is an example of a very basic feed. In this case, it only has 4 products. This is not for a real store. This is just for a little one I made up. I love cooking, so I mocked up a little cookware store here. You can see that there's an ID, a title, a description. There's something here called a Google product category. So in this case, it's home and garden, kitchen and dining, kitchen tools and utensils, kitchen knives. Google product category is essentially like think of it as like a big index of all of the ways that we can categorize products. And you can find it in the Google Merchant Center help. If you just search for the Google product taxonomy, you'll find it. And you can go through that and say, okay, how should I categorize my products via the Google product category? You also have, I guess, an option that's more flexible where you can identify something as a product type, and you can just kind of call that whatever you like. It might match the navigational structure of your website, for example. if we come over here, we have the link to the website where you can buy this particular product, and then the image link, which makes sense. The condition, price, the brand is also fairly self-explanatory. Here where it says GTIN, what that actually means is barcode number. So I think GTIN stands for Global Trade Index Number, something like that. And it means a barcode number if you have barcodes, or an ISBN if we're talking about books. So I've put that number there as well. And this one I particularly wanted to focus on, this last one here where it says AdWords labels. So this is I guess a very free-form column where what I've done is I've identified each product as falling into different sort of buckets. You know, the kitchen knives bucket, or the Christmas specials bucket, or the under $15 bucket. And that specifically relates to the product ad formats that we're going to talk about later. Each of those buckets that I've identified, I will be able to set a different bid for in AdWords when we talk about product listing ads. So if I don't create these buckets now in my feed, I won't be able to bid differently for them later. So if you're somebody who is already has a merchant center set up and is already looking at product listing ads, this is kind of the main takeaway from today, is to understand this bucketing system and to know how to bid using it. So let me move on from there to the merchant center. And show you how this looks. Okay. So you should be able to see now those 4 products that I mentioned before. We had 2 knives and 2 chopping boards showing up now in this little Merchant Center campaign. Again, it's not for a real store, so this one would never be allowed to go live, but just so you can see an example here. If I clicked into an individual item here, so I'll click on the plastic chopping board, you can see down here under information you provided us, all of that content that I put in the feed. So the ID, the description, the price, the brand, etc. And over here we can see our labels, chopping boards and under $15. So if those labels, the AdWords labels, are appearing in the Merchant Center, then later we'll be able to go on into AdWords and set up those different bids for them. Okay, so that's our demo of Merchant Center and what a feed looks like today. One of the most common questions I get is about optimizing a Merchant Center feed. Get this one, I think, every day. So there are a couple of things you can do to make sure that your Merchant Center feed is performing well, and this relates both to its performance in the organic and free listings, and also to its performance in relation to the product ads that we'll discuss in a moment. So the first one is to update your feed regularly as soon as anything changes on your site, particularly if prices change on your site. So we have a number of both automated and manual methods that we use to check that the prices that you put into the Merchant Center are the same as the ones showing on your site. We want those 2 prices to match so that the user gets the best experience. If we see differences in those prices, you know, maybe because you uploaded your Merchant Center feed in the morning and then changed your prices later, we may actually stop your Merchant Center from submitting that into both organic search and ads. So it's important to make sure that whatever you have in your feed matches whatever you have on the site. The second thing is to make sure you're submitting nice, clear images. So 250 by 250 pixels as a minimum, but 400 by 400 is best. And particularly if you sell apparel items, people who buy apparel really like to look at what they're buying. They care about the details. And so big images can really help us make sure that they can see what they're getting. The next is to use clear titles and descriptions based on your website. So, you know, if I am seeing in organic search or in product listing ads something saying, you know, 500 thread count cream queen size bed sheets, that's the kind of title that you'd want to see, and you'd want to see that reflected on the website once you click through. It also helps to use the kind of things that people actually search for. So you can take a look, for example, using the Google keyword tool to find out, do people search for 500 thread count, as in spelling out the word thread count, or do they search for like 500 TC as an abbreviation sheets? And try and pick the one that kind of reflects most what users actually search for and use that in your titles and descriptions. Just be careful for no robots tags that could block the Google server. Once in a while, I would say every couple of weeks, I come across someone where, for example, we can't pull the images successfully from what they've identified in their feed because they've actually blocked those images from being crawled. And finally, just stick to the editorial guidelines. A lot of them are very similar to what you may be familiar with from AdWords. So, don't put, 5 exclamation signs after the name of your product, or write in all capitals, or that kind of thing. So if you stick to those 5 points, that should really help your Merchant Center feed perform the best that it can. Okay, so what we'd like to do now is actually take a little break for 2 to 3 minutes. And take any questions that we have about the Merchant Center, or optimizing for the Merchant Center, or about the Christmas trends. And then we'll go on to talk about product ads. So if you have any questions, please leave them as a comment on the page, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. So I'll just wait 1 minute, and then I'll ask Marina to let me know if we have some questions.
So as we're waiting to see if anybody does want to post any questions in the Say Something box, we can actually maybe just walk through a couple of quick FAQs that Kate does receive quite often. It might be something to jog your memory about some of your own questions that are lingering there. So one question is, if I'm a retailer that ships to multiple countries, do I need to have another Merchant Center account for each of those different countries?
Sure. So we actually get a lot of folks now, e-commerce operators, who are looking to go into export and ship to different countries. It's it's such an easy business model to leverage. It's very popular. You don't need another Merchant Center account, but you do need a second feed. So if you're doing the most basic method where you upload an Excel spreadsheet, you'll basically upload one spreadsheet for Australia and then a second spreadsheet, say, for the UK. And when you upload that spreadsheet, you actually identify which country you want to target. So you don't need a different account, but you do need a separate feed if you want to go into export and target multiple countries. If you were going to do it for product listing ads, which we'll talk about in a second, you need to pick a country where product listing ads are available. So the US, UK, Germany, France, Brazil, Japan would be some of those countries.
Okay, excellent. That's really helpful. So if another question for you is, if I have to add multiple Google product, or do I have to add the Google product category at all, or can I leave it out?
Sure. So when I showed you the Excel spreadsheet, there was a column called Google Product Category. You don't actually have to add the Google Product Category right now if you don't want to, but it helps us work out what keywords we should use to trigger your ads better. And also, for some other countries, it's compulsory. So, for example, if you want to upload a feed targeting the US, you need to include the Google Product Category. And I expect that probably sometime next year we'll require it in Australia as well. So if you can, do add the Google Product Category for now.
Great. So no more questions have been posted for the moment. So feel free to continue posting them during the rest of the session, and you can call back to earlier slides, but I guess we can move on to...
Okay. All right, let's jump forward to product ads. So the first ad type that I want to talk about is product extensions. Product extensions are the ones that look like site links with prices. If you remember from before, you can see the screenshot below. So let's talk about the difference between product extensions versus product listing ads. Product extensions show under your existing ad, so they're an extension to your existing text ad. They're triggered by keywords in your AdWords account that also match products in your feed. So for example, if you had the keyword bagless vacuum or buy bagless vacuum in your account as a keyword, and we happen to notice that you have some bagless vacuums in your feed, then we would match the two together and trigger that product extension to show underneath that ad when it's triggered by that keyword. The CPC is the same as any AdWords account. It's set at the ad group or the keyword level. And in terms of performance, product extensions will usually improve your click-through rate by around about 20%, which is a great uplift. On the other side, we have product listing ads. they're a different ad format. They're not an extension to your existing ads. They're like a whole different ad. There's no keywords or ads created by you. So that means that once you've done the feed, you've actually done 98% of the work. The bit that you have to do in AdWords is actually very quick. The CPC is set at what we call a product target level. So that's a bucket of products, essentially, where you say, I want to bid a certain CPC for all of these products. And they have a huge impact, a 200% click-through rate uplift compared to the text ad in the same spot. And I would typically say that the average advertiser I see who uses both text ads and product listing ads would see about a 30% or better improvement in cost per conversion on product listing ads versus standard text ads. We actually recommend that you use both where possible, product extensions and product listing ads for best results. And the reason why is, again, as you can see in the example, is because you can run both. So you can essentially have 2 bites of the cherry, as it were. So you might as well set up both and run. Okay, in terms of how to set up product extensions, it's actually very simple. You would go to the Add Extensions tab, same as you would for any extension such as site links in AdWords. Choose the product extensions, and then just click to link your Merchant Center account to AdWords. You can choose to apply these things called filters if you like. I would actually strongly recommend that if you're not 100% sure what you're doing, don't add filters. We will automatically work out which products are relevant to those keywords and show. But if, for example, you decided that you only wanted to show product extensions on keywords related to a particular brand like Nike or Reebok, then you could do that. However, it won't force irrelevant products to show under a particular thing. So, for example, we wouldn't have product extensions for Nike shoes showing up when somebody searches for bagless vacuum. So generally, you don't need filters, but if you wanted to do very sophisticated segmentation, then you possibly could. So that's really how to set up product extensions. It's actually very simple. It really takes about 2 minutes and you're live once you have that Merchant Center feed in place. The next topic I'd like to talk about is product listing ads. I think, of the things that we have for this Christmas, this is the one I'm most excited about. The advertisers who are already trying it in Australia seem to be loving it. I'm really getting a lot of great feedback on it. It seems to be a very popular product. So this is the one that has the pictures, as you can see there in the example. In terms of visuals, product listing ads can show up in a number of places. We will show them along the top if the quality and the relevancy to the keyword that's searched for is high, and also on the right-hand side. They'll display the product title, the price, the image, and the merchant name. And you'll see a little bit of text under the example there where the blue arrow is, saying free shipping on millions of products. That's what we call the promotional text. You don't have to have that. But you can, and it does help to improve the click-through rate. The one I would say that improves the click-through rate the most, if you offer free shipping, write in the promotional text that you have free shipping. Consumers tend to really love that. So in terms of targeting, we mentioned before that product listing ads are not targeted by keywords. So they're not targeted in the traditional AdWords manner. They use something called product targets. And product targets mean that the ad shows when the query relates to the product. So you don't have to go and manually create any keywords or any ads. We automatically work out which searches on Google are related to the products in your feed, and then essentially create the ad on the fly and show it to that consumer. You can use product targets to set different bids. Right? So remember before when I showed you the feed and I showed you in the yellow column the things called AdWords labels, and in that case I had one that was for like chopping boards under $15 or something like that. You can create any AdWords label you like, and then you can use that to actually set up a product target and bid for that product target. So in this case I'm going to say for all of my products that are over $100 I want to create a product target. And then you're able to set bids that relate to that product target. You can choose to add something called all products, and that's kind of like an ad group default bid. So it's basically saying I only want one product target, I want to keep it simple, I want to bid the same for all of my products, whether they're a $1,000 washing machine or a $50 handheld vacuum cleaner. That's simple, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the value to your business of the sale of both of those products. So if you bid for the products that meet the description by creating a custom product target, that's a bit more like keyword level bidding in AdWords. Rather than bidding for an individual keyword, you're bidding for either one product or a basket of products that meet the description that you've given. If you want to bid at the individual product level, you can actually choose ID from that list. And say for this product ID, I want to set the bid to a particular thing. For this other product ID, I want a different bid. So I recommend ID, product type, and AdWords labels are generally the most useful for creating those product targets. So another question I often get is, well, how many ad groups should I have for my product listing ads? If you're somebody who advertises a lot using traditional AdWords, you're probably used to the idea that lots of ad groups are good. You know, you break out your account into many, many ad groups and try and make sure that they're tightly targeted. For product listing ads, many ad groups are not necessarily good. It's actually fine if you just have one ad group. But a couple of things that you kind of need to know, rules of thumb if you like, is firstly, one ad group, one promotional text. So if you want to show different promotional text for different kinds of products, you're going to need different ad groups. The second one is one ad group if you're using an all products target. So let me explain why. If you have an all products target in an ad group, you can add other product targets as well. And you can think of it as kind of like the all products operates like a default ad group level bid, and the additional product targets that you add are kind of like individual keyword level bids. And so if something met the AdWords label on sale for a particular product, we would use the bid of $3, and then for everything else, we would use the bid of $1. If that makes sense. And you would only get to use one promotional text. So in this case, we've used something generic like free shipping over $50. That's completely fine, and that's actually what I would recommend that you do. So to break out some of the things that you really want to bid differently on, add them as specific product targets, and then keep an all products target in the same ad group as kind of like a backup or a catch-all for anything that's not covered. However, if you wanted to be super sophisticated about it and you wanted to show different promotional messages for different kinds of products, you could set it up like this. So in this case, this advertiser has different ad groups. They have one ad group for bags under $100, a second ad group for bags under $200, and a third ad group for bags over $200. And they want to be able to show a different sale coupon with each basket of bags, because for the less expensive bags they want a lower value coupon, and for the more expensive bags they want a higher value coupon. So in this case, in each case, they've created a product target that targets that particular basket of products, bags under $100, bags under $200, and so on, and then they've gone and put that in a separate ad group with a separate promotional text that highlights the coupon. So as I mentioned, the first one, the one where you just have one ad group and you put all of your product targets in that one ad group, is actually what I recommend for most people. But if you wanted to take it up a level and do kind of sophisticated things with coupons and so on, you could use this strategy that's in front of you now. Okay, now in terms of setting up product listing ads, I actually think it's best if I just show you how to do it. So let me jump in here. And here is my little test account today. So if you're completely new to setting up product listing ads, you would just go to New Campaign, Search Network, and then over here where it says Choose Campaign Type, you can actually see that there is a type called Product Listing Ads. So I could choose that, give it a name, Product Listing Ads, something like that, and then you just set a default bid and budget. And you can see down here it's automatically saying extend my ads with relevant product details from the Google Merchant Center. So in this case, I'm going to select my Merchant Center for Kate's Cookware, and then I would just save and continue. That's basically it, actually, for setting up a product listing ads campaign. It's not that hard. But let me jump over here and just show you, cancel out of this, an example here. So we've got our PLA's general ad group here. I click into that. I go to the Auto Targets tab. you can see that there's just one product target here, all products, right? So everything would have the same bid of 10 cents applied to it. If I wanted to add a different product target, I just go add new product target. And let's say I want the AdWords label to be boards, because I had 2 cutting boards in my little product feed. I would just save that. And then I'm going to set a different CPC over here. So let's say 40 cents. So now what I have is, for the things in my feed that were labeled with an AdWords label boards, I'm going to bid 40 cents. For anything else, I'm going to bid 10 cents. Does that make sense? So that's how you would use product targets to control your bidding. And you can get as sophisticated as you like. Some of the really sophisticated customers that we have in the US would actually set a separate bid for every product and use an automation system to actually manage those bids. So a bid management tool to adjust those bids automatically. So all products is like a great place to start, and then maybe add a few more product targets as you go along. And then finally, if you want to get really sophisticated, you can get into bidding per individual product. All right, so let me jump forward from our demo here. So we talked about optimizing your Merchant Center feed before. Now let's talk about optimizing your product listing ads. So the first thing is to increase exposure. It's good to have an all products target to back everything up so that you make sure that you're covering everything. If you don't want to have an all products target, if you wanted to do that thing with bags over $100 and under $100 in separate ad groups that we had before, just make sure that you have auto targets that cover everything. So if all of the bags are either over $200, between 1 and 200, or under 100, then you'll have a product target that covers everything in your feed. But you don't want to kind of miss things out there. The second thing is to improve the data quality. So you want to check the feed and make sure that you have all of the recommended attributes for Merchant Center and that there are no feed errors. Of the times I've had people coming in a panic and saying, oh, my product listing ads have stopped showing, typically it's something wrong in the Merchant Center feed. Maybe the image links are broken or something like that. So make sure you keep an eye on that. You also want to improve the feed. Keep those titles nice and short and very clear. Nice, clear, big images. And of course, you want to make sure that your pricing is competitive, seeing as that does show up on the page. You can improve the click-through rates by testing those new promo messages. You might want to highlight something around a seasonal event or different perks that you can get from that particular store. And you can use a search query report just the same as you would for a regular AdWords account. Just run it at the campaign level and you'll actually see the keywords that you actually showed on. You could look at that list, and if there's something you were showing on that you didn't like, you can just add it as a negative keyword. So that part is completely the same as normal AdWords, even though you don't create Okay, so the last section that we need to cover today is tracking results. You don't want to do all of this hard work and then not be able to prove what an awesome return it's getting. So there are a couple of ways that you can separate out your tracking so that you can make sure you know where those clicks are coming from. Firstly, you can track organic and paid traffic separately. So even though you're just uploading one feed into Merchant Center and we're using those links to send the traffic to, you can add an extra column to your feed with the heading AdWords_redirect. And you put your tracking URL direct URL for both product extensions and product listing ads if you have both. The second one is that within AdWords redirect, I think Marina is saying we have a question.
I think that we might have had some technical difficulties, so we're going to refresh the page really quickly.
Okay.
And then so sit tight and we'll be right back.
Okay. Bear with us, folks. All right, so hopefully we should be back and live now and everything working fine. If not, please just let us know in the comments page.
I think we're good to go.
Okay, thanks, Marina. Apologies, folks. You know, Google, we always make the technology work except for when we don't. All right, so we were covering off on tracking, and we had talked about being able to track organic and paid traffic separately. So using the extra column in the feed that says AdWords redirect, an extra attribute so that you can separate your paid traffic from your free traffic that you're getting via what you've put into Merchant Center. And the next part was to be able to track product ads and extensions separately. So what you can do is use the if_PLA and if_PE function within your AdWords redirect URL. So if you wanted examples of how this might work, you can actually go to the Merchant Center and just actually search for if_PE or if_PLA, and it will bring up the relevant help article. But you can use that function to be able to tell in your analytics program, whether it's Google Analytics or something else, whether the click came from a product extension or whether it came from a product listing ad. So you should now be able to separate out all three sources of traffic. You can tell organic from paid, and then within paid you can tell product extensions from product listing ads traffic. Okay, so we're actually going to wrap up now with our 4 steps to success. So, you know, you've come to this webinar, you've learned all this. What do you actually go back to your desk now and do? The first place is actually to start with a little bit of budget planning. So go and check those search trends for your products and plan out your spend week by week. You don't want to run out of budget, you know, in the 3rd week of November. So just kind of plot that on the curve that you see in Google Trends. The second one is to pimp your Merchant Center feed. So if you don't have a Merchant Center feed already, get that feed up and running. If you already have a Merchant Center feed, make sure that you're including those attributes that you might want to use for product listing ads bidding. So for example, AdWords labels, if you want to be able to use that. You want to optimize your product listing ads. So turn them on and then choose whether you want a one ad group or many strategy. We talked about the pros and cons. I recommend one ad group for most people, but if you want to do something sophisticated, you could go a many option. Add that promo text and then create multiple product targets and set different bids depending on the value of that particular product to your business. And then finally, turn on extensions. It's a really quick and easy. You can do it as the last step. So just turn on those product extensions. You turn them on individually per campaign. So start with the campaigns with the slightly longer tail keywords, as those tend to have the ones that are most related to specific products anyway. Okay, guys, thanks for attending our Hangout today. We're going to stay around and take questions again on the Google Plus page for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have any additional questions, just leave them on the Google Plus page, and we'll try and get to as many of them as possible. If you could also please take the survey that's at the top of the description on the Google Plus page, that would be great. We'd really appreciate your feedback so we can work out the value of these events and continue to provide the best resources for you. If you want more resources after today, there's the Google Commerce blog, just search for it, Merchant Center Help, and the AdWords Help Center. And also on youtube.com/Google Business, there's lots of videos, so if you're a visual learner, that are related to various Google products, including Merchant Center and product listing ads. So thanks again for attending, guys, and we'll take a pause now to take any questions.
So before we jump into some of the great questions that were posted on the comments section, I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity as well to post a question if you happen to miss anything during our technical glitch. I just want to make sure that none of the content was lost during that point. So let us know if there's something you'd like us to go back and repeat. But I'll just read off some of our questions here from the audience.
Do you want to come on in so these folks can see you?
So thank you, Talia, for your question. If we have multiple items that are the same product, such as sofa beds, how do you optimize your product listings to show other items if it is currently only showing one product the majority of the time?
Okay, so I'm guessing, for example, in this case, maybe you have like different sofa beds. So maybe you have, let's say, a top of the range model, a middle of the range model, and a bottom of the range model, for example. So it's true that, if someone searches for sofa bed, what Google is actually going to do is we're going to start by just picking randomly one of your 3 sofa beds to show. And we'll continue to do that until we start to see, for example, that maybe the middle of the range sofa bed is actually getting a better click-through rate. It seems more compelling to users when they search for the query sofa bed. So that'll kind of happen automatically, and in that sense you can kind of trust the system. However, you may make a business decision that you're like, actually what I really want people to buy is the top of the range sofa bed, So in that case you have a few options. One is to actually stop those other sofa beds from triggering on product listing ads at all. And you can do that by actually adding an extra column where you can exclude certain products from showing on product listing ads while still keeping them showing in organic search. So that's called the excluded _ destination column. So that would be one option, and that would basically kind of force it over, if you like, to the more expensive sofa bed. The other option is to give them AdWords labels, sofa beds 1, 2, and 3, if you like, and then set different auto targets and put lower bids on the ones that you don't want to promote as much, and higher bids on the sofa beds that you want to show more often. So those would be kind of your two strategies. You could either exclude them from showing at all, or you could just adjust the bidding on them.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions on that. But one additional question is, do you have to delete all other ad extensions if you want your product listings to be shown more often?
No. So for product extensions, we will actually work out, if you had, say, site link extensions running as well, we will actually work out what's the optimum extension to show based on the click-through rate. So it's fine to have multiple types of extensions running, and we will try to, auto-optimize your account to get you the most clicks possible. So you don't have to be concerned about that.
Excellent. A question from Shane is, can we get some more examples of when we might want to use filters?
Yeah, sure. So again, I would be very careful about using filters. I have to say, of the folks that I've talked to who've used them, in more than 50% of cases, they weren't working as they thought they were working. But let's say, actually, the sofa beds would be potentially an example. You could use filters to basically block the 2 cheapest sofa beds from running at all, or if you were selling, like, I don't know, iPads, and you've got the 16 gigabyte, the 32 gigabyte, and the 64 gigabyte, you might use it to actually just block it so only the cheapest one shows, if you think that's kind of the one that you want. I guess I'm trying to think. If there was one brand that you wanted to push more than anything else, and you basically said, I don't care if sometimes I don't show any extensions, I just want to make sure that if any extension will show, it's for this particular brand, Nike or something like that. You could apply a filter so that we only show Nike products, but that doesn't guarantee that we're going to show an extension for Nike shoes when somebody searches for Reebok shoes. We'd probably show no extension in that case, but it means that if any extension does show, it will be a Nike one. So be a little bit careful, again, with those filters. There really isn't, to be honest, a lot of cases where I've seen people using them in a way where they weren't giving up traffic by doing it. So you want to make a conscious decision that you want less traffic and only specific kinds of traffic.
So the follow-up question to that then was, so filters can potentially work like negative keywords?
Yes, filters do work like negative keywords. That's a good analogy.
Perfect. So another frequently asked question, I think, is how many product targets do we actually recommend our users to use?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because it's sort of like, how many keywords should I have? How many product targets should I have? If you're just starting out, and you're just kind of getting into it, something like 3 to 5 product targets is probably fine. So you might just use AdWords labels to segment your products into, top 20% most expensive products, next 20% most expensive products, something like that, and then bid differently for each of those buckets. And that makes sure that, if you're selling $1,000 washing machines and $30 handheld vacuums, you're bidding differently for both of those things. So yeah, just 3 to 5 to start with would honestly be a good place to start, and will better reflect what the sale of those products is worth to your business. And then if you wanted to take it to a more sophisticated level, maybe somewhere between kind of 10 to 20 product targets would be a good place to go. You might end up with specific ones for, like what's on sale this week. You might want to bid more for that. or what's in the catalog, things like that.
Excellent. Cool. One final frequently asked question I think is how can we actually get product extensions for my on-sale products to show when someone searches for my brand?
Yeah. So you can't actually get product extensions to trigger for particular keywords. So that's kind of related, I think, to the sofa beds question in a sense. So product extensions will actually rarely show for a lot of brand queries because the brand query isn't about a particular product that's in the feed. Typically, product extensions are going to show where the keyword search for matches that product in the feed. And so that's what you can kind of expect and aim for.
Excellent. So I think that's all of our questions that we got from the audience and some of our FAQs as well. So with that, I guess we can give you 5 more minutes of your afternoon back. And thank you again for attending. We'll be sending out the video of this recording, I guess in about a week's time when we have everything all settled. So stay tuned for that in your inboxes. And then please send it around to anyone else that you think would find the content useful.
Great. Thanks for attending, guys.
Yep. Thanks so much.